right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? Welcome back to another episode of the Finish Line. As we make our live debut on Phinside The NFL, we will be live on YouTube every Thursday at 8 p.m., but that will be probably changing to Wednesday, so that's pending. Be out on the lookout for that, and it could be as soon as next week. Besides that, if you still enjoy listening to us to audio, we're still available on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you try to get your little podcast fix. We will still be available audio-wise of this show. So, gentlemen, we had a long show last night. We went over predictions through the season on PhinsideTheNFL.com and such. Richmond BallGame, how y'all feeling? We are literally, as we record now, 3 days away from starting to get some answers, starting to find some things out. How you feeling, man? How you feeling as the pulse begins to surge and you're checking it to see if you're really alive? How you feeling right now?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm feeling good. Reason it was a long show, but I really enjoyed it. The gentlemen that were on the panel last night, with their football knowledge and the way they everybody presented different cases, a lot of things, we all kind of came together and actually agreed on a lot of stuff. It was 2 hours, but it didn't seem like 2 hours because it was just a wealth of knowledge. And anytime you can get that and you respect people's opinions that really take time to really study it, this and that. And I know a lot of you guys are a lot more deeper as far as, y'all really know. I know the game of football. Y'all know the game of football, but y'all know it from a different perspective sometimes. So I really just enjoy sitting back, listening, and just getting different people's take on it and stuff like that. But I am truly excited to be live. I'm glad you came up with this idea, and I think it's going to be great. And people can listen to us, but they can also see us. And I think sometimes that makes a big difference. So definitely excited about that. And before I get to talk about football so much, I know we got fans from across the world, and I know but Queen Elizabeth II, she passed away today. So want to offer my condolences to the royal family, and just had a ton of respect. And I remember, I think it was Netflix came out with a documentary on her or whatever. My wife watched it, and I actually sit down and watched some episodes, and it was really
Brother,
pretty.
ding dong, the witch is dead. All right, that's all I got to say over here.
No, I'm not going there.
And I'm under the Commonwealth, and I said that. All right, ding dong, the witch is dead. All right, that's what I got.
We're gonna go into that off air. I'm sure you might have a little different perspective, but from what I know, I just wanted to put that out there. But football kicks off tonight. The Bills and the Rams. Definitely get to watch some of that, but just excited that football is actually back, and looking forward. Like you said, we're 3 days away. We've got the Patriots rolling in town, and I think we're ready to start it out right. I think the fan base is excited. So we got a lot to talk about. And so how you doing, Mr. BallGame?
I think it's always good, man, this time of year to be able to be this close And I can feel the anticipation. I'm watching a lot of the news channels and things, and people talking reckless still. But this is the time of the year where we actually get to sit back and have people eat crow. It's coming. So I hope they bring their appetites with them, because as soon as you step outside, you're gonna get checked. I think it's gonna be a different Dolphins team. I'm anxious to see how this first 6 weeks goes, but I think they're gonna get it together, probably, hopefully, faster than expected, and we'll roll through some people, man, make the playoffs, and give us exactly what we've been yearning for quite some time. But I'm always good. I'm always good, man, to be here with y'all too. So I'm anxious, but it's a good time.
Brother, you got some support on Twitter for your little Baltimore pick, They were like, what, only one of you picked us to be Baltimore? People need to look at net last year. So you had Dudley out here defending his takes, bro. Ridiculous. So guys, before we get into everything that we're going to get into tonight, I just wanted to talk a little side note, because I do think it's worth mentioning. I haven't even mentioned it on Phinside The NFL yet, but I do want to briefly hit you guys with a curveball right here that I didn't prep you guys for. I don't know if you saw, but the news came out that Taron Armstead actually did eventually link up Drew Brees and Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know if you guys have heard that yet, but it came out. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because this is someone who he's been compared to in a lot of sense, and even go down to the injury. We had a real serious shoulder injury to his throwing shoulder, and eventually you saw it as he got into his 40s. It really started to bring Drew Brees down big time with, pop gun arm type stuff. But the way they accuracy, the way they attack all three levels, just their game had a lot of similarities with Tua coming out of Alabama. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on them actually linking up, especially you, Richmond, because I'm sure there had to have been offensive linemen, whether, whatever the case may be, rookies or even friends who have kids that want to be offensive linemen, that have hooked you up, tried to pick your brain to improve this player. What do you think goes on in a conversation between a guy like Tua Tagovailoa and Drew Brees when you look at stylistically? Sure, the results are different and varying, but stylistically, they're very, very similar. And Richmond's having
a little couple audio issues.
Muted. Yeah, he's muted. There you go. You're good.
Is it back? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. It disconnected a bit. I think that's great. I think that's awesome. I think, I've always really liked Tua, and it shows that he's a student of the game. So when you have an opportunity to meet with someone that's had the type of longevity in the NFL like Drew Brees, and I remember in the early 2000s, it was actually he possibly was being considered looked at as becoming a Dolphin, but I think it was a shoulder injury or something that they steered away from that. But when you get somebody's game that they kind of compare you to, and when he's had success, and Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer, and you can pick that guy's brain, or he can give you tips as far as the approach and stuff, as far as preparing for the games and just getting his outtake on it, and getting that's a wealth of knowledge. But I think it's great, and for Taron Armstead to hook those two up, and for Drew Brees, he's probably met Tua before, but to be able to look at the next guy that's up and coming, and be willing to help him to hone his game and skill set, and especially if you know anything about the way he's worked this offseason. I think he has a great work ethic. I like the way he approached the game, and he's a captain, so he has those leadership skill abilities. I think that's awesome. And I don't know if Tua said anything, or if Taron just said, "Hey man, I'm gonna hook you up with my boy Drew Brees, this and that." And for him, because he's on television now, but for to hook those two up, and you have access to someone like that, as far as height, size, and everything, that probably deal with some of the same things as you would. It's great to be able to have somebody that you can pick their brain and play it at such a high level like he did.
BallGame, what did you think about it when you saw it? I mean, I think, Richmond nailed it on the head. I mean, even down to Taron Armstead, he's going to be rocking that scene now, and he's out here acting like a captain. But, he said he would do it when he got here, and he actually followed through. I mean, what are your thoughts on it after? I mean, I know we got to take a minute and remorse over the fact that we chose Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees, and thank you for rehashing that, Richmond. But what are your thoughts on it? I mean, you remember when we were comparing this guy coming out, Drew Brees was a guy that a lot of people were comping his ceiling to.
Right. I think it's always important to look at the foundational part of this whole process. And the man came in and said he was going to do something, and he followed through with it, which means that he could be trusted. Yeah. And as a teammate, that's probably one of the greatest things that he could bring to this organization is the fact that he is going to stand on his word and he's going to follow through. And anything that's going to be asked of him, if it's going to be for the betterment of this team, he's probably going to wind up doing it. That gives everybody around him that's seeing him do these type of things that much more of a reason to want to go out and lay it on the line every day in practice and in these games. And I think that's probably the glue that this team was needing, along with what Tyreek brought to the table in regards to his leadership. So now you got two guys that are spilling all the beans and trying to make all the right connections to make sure that our young guys have all of the tutelage that they can possibly ever want. You know what I mean? And then the fact that it's Brees, who people said didn't have the strongest arm, Tua's game is modeled after, that just makes it that much more special. So I think that's huge, bro. And you can't, some things you can manufacture from coaching staffs. They can manufacture ways for teams to build their camaraderie and things of that nature. But when you got a guy coming in and right out the rip, he said, "Hey man, I'm gonna get you in touch with the Hall of Famer." I mean, because that's everybody know Brees gonna make the Hall. That's huge. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what the goosebumps were like when Tua finally, got the phone call from Brees or whatnot.
Yeah,
that's awesome, bro.
And I honestly think, as much as we all love Dan Marino, there's a lot more things in terms of how they are as players that he can relate to in terms of conversation-wise with Brees compared to what he could with Marino, right?
The problem with Marino is that he just like all the other quarterbacks that we brought in is always going to be in his shadow until he surpasses him, until he's able to do something that Dan wasn't able to do, and having another guy to be able to bounce that type of stress and that type of all those types of expectations and things off of that had adversity and pushed through it and, got himself back to the top echelon at the position that's invaluable, bro. Like, damn, Tua got it laid out for him, man. They really rallying around him, find this kid, man. I like that, bro.
So speaking of Tua, we are heading into week 1 this week against the Patriots. And I mean, this is, when you look at the actual matchup and even from a betting standpoint, whatever the case, this is the first time the Patriots haven't been favored to win a season opener since 2016. And the Dolphins are favored over the Patriots for the first time since December 2013, which snaps a streak of 16 consecutive games with the Patriots as favorites over the Dolphins. So also Tua 3-0 has the potential to go 4-0 against the Patriots, and he would be the first quarterback in the Bill Belichick era to start off 4-0 against the New England Patriots. Is the pressure, is it more on Mike McDaniel or Tua? Is this a bigger test for the head coach or for the starting quarterback? Because on one hand, you got a guy going up in his first game against a coach that's won over 500 games in Bill Belichick and 5 Super Bowls as well. And on the flip side, Tua, he's going up against Mac Jones. He's already 2-0 against Mac, but Mac's coming off a season where, quite frankly, because he was coddled, his stats were inflated a little bit. So everyone, he made the top 85 list, which I don't know how. And, the pressure is on Mike McDaniel to deliver the playoffs, which is something Brian Flores never could. and the pressure's on Tua to prove he's a franchise guy this year. So, week 1 of the NFL season, guys, who is it a bigger test for, Tua Tagovailoa or Mike McDaniel?
Well,
I'll go first. Sorry about that, ball game.
now you good.
I think it's a test for both and for different reasons. And I'll start with Mike McDaniel. I think he's always been one of the best offensive coordinators probably in the league. You know, the way he sets up things, you know, his offensive system schemes, this and that. He does an outstanding job of that. But going from a coordinator to a head coach, you know, that's a different thing. He'll still be involved on the offensive side, but now you got, you know, 3 phases of the game to be worried about: offense, defense, and special teams, to where everything falls on your shoulders now. I think that, you know, everybody wants to be successful, and I think he's a competitive coach. And sometimes you see coaches that are really good coordinators. They come in and become a head coach, and they really struggle the first time they do it. And then some of them, they adjust to it and they do really well. So just like, you know, if Tua had access to Drew Brees, I would definitely be reaching out to some former head coaches and say, hey, you know, what is it I need to, am I missing something here? This and that. I would be picking those guys' brain. And I'm sure he has access to some former head coaches that have had success in the NFL. So, and with him being a competitive coach, I just, that's just what I see for Mike McDaniel as far as Tua. You know, you're a leader on this team, and I think he puts pressure on himself, become the best. I think he still wants to prove that he's worthy of the top 5 pick. And I know he's heard all the things that have been said about him. You know, we should have took somebody else, this and that. You know, he's went through it all. And each offseason, you see how he busts his tail, work hard. And now you bring in a coach with Mike McDaniel, and one of the first, I guess, players, or at least that's what they showed on social media, was he called Tua and told him his expectations. And, you know, he felt that he would be great, but you're going to have to work. And I don't think Tua's ever had a problem as far as putting in the work and this and that. That's been shown. So I think he has things to prove. I think he wants to do what's best for the team in order for the team to have success. And if he does that, I think he knows everything else will take care of itself. He doesn't seem like he's never seemed like a guy that was a selfish player that says, you know, I need to get my stats here or this and that. It's always been about what's best for the team. And even when I felt, and I know a lot of people felt, he received a lot of unfair criticism, he never took that opportunity to throw teammates up under the bus and saying, well, this guy would have did this, and that. Never a finger pointer. He took it on the chin like a man. And I think that's why he has so much respect in the locker room. And I think that's why he was named one of the captains. But I think with him being here, and this is his 3rd year, this is New England. And I always look at the divisional games as they count twice as much as the regular ones, because you want to win your division. And I think he knows the importance of this game, and you want to start out on a good foot. And I think it's going to be loud. It's going to be electric. Season tickets are sold out. Everybody's paid attention to what's happened this offseason. They've looked at it and said, you know, the moves that Coach McDaniel came in and made, this and that, Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, doing things to actually say, we're going to fix this thing. We're going to fix it now. And I think the excitement is through the roof. So I'm looking forward to Sunday. But it is pressure. But I think both of those guys, from what I see so far, they'll be able to handle it.
Ball game. Who do you think it's a better test for, or bigger test for? Sorry, McDaniel or Tua?
I agree with a lot that Richmond said, but I think
Your mic, brother.
We good?
Yeah.
Real
All
good.
right. So I think the biggest thing right now is that, like, Tua's been in front and on the field with Belichick. He's been in a duel back and forth with him a couple times now. For me, I think it's always important to take into consideration that a guy, even though he may not have actually been the guy calling the plays, Mike was intricately involved in the build-ups and the installs of everything that they ran in the locations where he came from, especially in San Francisco. So the success is shared amongst all the coordinators, and whether he was actually the one calling the play or not, a lot of times, a lot of the flow of what the team is finding success doing still comes through that specific coordinator, right? Like the run game, if you beating people up in the run game, coach looking over his shoulder like, hey, what else you got? You know what I'm saying? So you really are, to some degree, kind of calling the plays unless it's in crucial situations where coaches, generally have things that they really want to do and feature in those specific areas. So I think just because of the nature of this being his first actual time facing Bill, the pressure's a little more on Mike to maintain, basically everything and keep a cool, calm head about himself and not get ahead of himself. They let the moment not get too big for him. But the dude seems to be so cerebral, bro, and he seems to be so in command of his emotions that I don't even really think he's even thinking about it in terms of the moment probably being too big for him, to be honest with you. And we all know Tua's a really calm, cool, he's a cool character anyway. So they probably sitting around at some point before the game on Sunday, both of them sitting, talking to each other in regards to, listen, I need you as much as you need me. I'm going to lean on you, right? That C on your chest is there for a reason. These guys depend on you. I need you to walk me through some of this stuff too, because the moment, you've been in this situation, you played New England before, and this is Mike talking to Tua. I'm going to need you to calm me down if you see I get a little rattled. You know what I mean? And that's an honest dialogue between a coach and a player that a lot of players, a lot of the good ones, they have with their coaches, because they do need each other. They both need each other to be successful. And I think it's a shared responsibility, in my opinion, not just one or the other. I think it's shared between the both of them. And I think they'll rise to the occasion, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
So if you got, I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Patriots, clearly, I don't think it's just a weather issue. They've come down here early and they've been training in West Palm, right? I believe.
Yep.
BallGame. And I joked around about how McDaniel, Belichick fears McDaniel. But I truly think, with what we've heard coming out of New England in terms of, how the offense has looked, how Mac Jones has looked, the receiving core looked, because when the pads came on, all of a sudden DVP was getting taken away, right? I think there is legitimate concern over there on what they're going to look like offensively. But how much stock do you guys put in them coming down and starting to train and prepare for us a couple days earlier than normal? Like, coming down a couple days earlier than normal ain't going to acclimate you to the weather. You're going to need like a couple weeks out there at least to start really getting acclimated to the weather. So that's why I don't buy the whole weather acclimation thing. I mean, Richmond, you played in it. How much stock do you guys put in them coming down early? And do you think and I'm not going to sit here and say they're out here with the video recorders, but do you think there's how much stock do you put in it? And do you think it's more of we got to get our P's and Q's in line in terms of worried about where their offense is at right now?
I think they definitely worried more about the offense. My experience, even when we went and played in cold weather, your body doesn't acclimate that quick. It's going to take, like you said, it's going to take more than a couple of days to adjust and say, okay, my body is used to being in hot, humid weather, this tropical weather they have in Miami. And even guys, I remember playing down there, it would be some Sundays it would get so hot and humid that it would even affect us. So for a team that's coming from up north, you can't adjust that quick. And you just got to have a mindset that the thing that I remember playing when we'd have to go to cold weather games, the thing that really stood out to me, if the game was close and longer we were in the game, you never really focus on the weather. At least I didn't. But if we were winning by a lot or if we were losing by a lot of times you'll like, man, it's cold out here. Let's get out of here. But most of the time, if the game is tight, then you focus on the game, and that's what you want to do. But I think he's more concerned about how he's going to defend the speed of like Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Do I blitz? If I do blitz, this guy does a pretty good job of going through his progressions and getting the ball out. And if he could do that last year with the offensive line we had last year, it's going to be a little bit easier. But Belichick has always had an idea of coming up with blitz schemes that you've never seen before. Linebackers cross. It's just something to just throw you out. But I guess the thing that gives me confidence is we got some veteran coaches, veteran offensive line coach, that if that happens, he'll get the guys together on the sideline and say, okay, if this happens again, we need to do X, Y, Z, block it this way, that way. You correct the mistake and you move on. And I think with the coaches we had last year, a lot of them were young, really, really young, inexperienced. And when you get in situations like that, it seemed like they did correct it or they really struggle with that. But that's what kind of gives me a little bit more confidence that we'll be able to make game time adjustments on the sideline. We don't have to wait till we go into the locker room at half and say, okay, they do this and that. So it's good to have young coaches, but I think you need a good mix, especially when you got a young team like we did. And our offensive line was really, really young last year, but we made some additions this year to kind of put a little veteran presence in there, which is good. But that's the thing. I think he's trying to decide, how do I blitz this guy? Do I try to force him one side of the field or the other? He watches a ton of film and he's looking for a weakness. And that's what I believe he's going to try to find and say, okay, how can I rattle this kid to try to get him out the pocket or whatever? But at the same time, how do I defend the speed that they got at the wide receiver position? So, he's thinking about it, but it's not an easy task. And I think he knows that. And some of the explosive plays we had in the preseason, I think he knows, this guy gets by you. This can be 6. You can get we're on the road, this and that. You don't want the game to get out of hand. And it easily could with a couple of plays. So that's what I think he's thinking about.
BallGame?
Give me the question again.
So how much stock do you really put in Bill Belichick coming down and training early with this team? Like it would take a couple weeks to acclimate to this weather, not a couple extra days.
Gotcha.
What do you think of the whole situation?
Yeah, it's going to be hot regardless of whether they came down 3 weeks early or 3 months early. The fact of the matter is, at this point, I think they probably made the trip down here sooner than later, just to get away from all of probably the chaos that they got going on around them up there. I mean, Bill understands that in the history of him being there in New England, he'd never spent as much money on this team that he did like last season in the offseason. And that didn't really bode as well for him as he thought it would have. And the fact of the matter is he's showing vulnerabilities now. So doing things uncharacteristically at this point is all he's got left. I don't necessarily put a whole lot of stock into them coming down just because they are who they are at this point. And there's really nothing over there other than a wide receiver that he kind of paid too much for in Bourne, trying to revive DVP. But, we all know what that experiment looks like. And the best thing over there probably is Hunter Henry. And I don't even know if he's healthy. So, I don't know. The mind games, it might just be one of these things where people, giving some people something to talk about. I don't see it as being something that's going to change the outcome on Sunday for sure. Not for me. So,
when you look at this Patriots front right now, actually, before we get into that, you mentioned Waddle. Today, Waddle was actually a full participant in case anyone wasn't aware. So it looks like Waddle's going to be good to go on Sunday. But we'll obviously continue to watch the injury report. Okay, when you look at running the football, obviously this is going to be a key aspect of Mike McDaniel's offense, but they have a very stout front. I mean, both teams have a pretty stout front, but they're pretty. I think they're a little bit better than us at the second level. So last year, they were 14th in terms of rushing defense, were the Dolphins, and the Patriots were actually only 22nd. We allowed 109.8 yards per game. They allowed about 123.7 yards per game. When you look at the Patriots, let's start off with them. For them to be successful, they've always been able to run the ball. All right. They last year, they had the 8th best rushing attack. They averaged 126.5 yards per game. Do you think with the addition of Trey Flowers and the depth we've added up front that it's going to be a lot harder for them than it has been in the past to get guys like Ramondre Stevenson and such going? And I'll start with you, BallGame, against our front. And, you know, that's kind of how you want to play them because you want to make Mac Jones have to try and beat you, right? So what are your thoughts on, we know every year we've gone in against the Patriots, every time we've had the conversation, BallGame, it's always been got to stop the run. Are you more confident than ever in terms of the front we've put together to be able to stop the run?
I like the bodies that we brought in. I like the bulk that we have up front, and I like the nastiness that we brought in as well that got added to this front seven. So yeah, I think it's been a well-known fact for a number of years that everything that they did up there, even when TB12 was there, they run the pass, and the play action kills you because of Tom's ability to get the ball out and get it into spaces that were just predicated off of guys having moved because of the run game was so efficient that you had to honor the run game. So yeah, I think we are well equipped, more than well equipped up front to be able to deal with just about any look that they give us in terms of stopping the run. And that's where, like you said, Mac Jones is going to be in trouble. I think the biggest thing right now is that once we do take the run away from them, we can't be complacent. We've got to continue to fight to take every yard away from them in that aspect, because if they do get one run going here, one run going there, Bill is really, really crafty about being able to figure out how to manipulate and continue to beat you at the one thing that you show you can't stop. So I'm not really worried about Matt Patricia though in the play calling aspect. He's not that other, he's not the guy that's been there before. So that's going to be a challenge for them to figure out if he can actually even hold that position down. So I think we're more than capable of stopping them, though. I don't see that as being an issue. My concern always comes down to alignment and assignment, and if our guys are out there communicating as well as they were communicating through the preseason, I think we're gonna be just fine. Every time I saw them give up something, they communicated about it. They pointed out what happened right then on the spot to rectify it, and that's something that I hadn't seen in the previous years. They are communicating, talking each other up. Nobody's allowed to walk around with their shoulders hung down, head hung low, none of that type of stuff. They're all talk. Hey, we get them the next one. Just make sure, hey, make your next rep the best rep type of thing, And that's what I think they get that from Boyer, right? There's none of this scowls on the sideline and guys walking off and you're getting this dirty look from Flores. You know what I'm saying? Like Boyer's addressing it. You know what I mean? He's addressing a lot of things, and I see him talking and walking the sideline, talking to guys, which is what players all consistently need, constant reinforcement. Listen, hey, I like how you did this, but I need you to do this a little different. So the next time they see it, it's different. And I think they're going to get that every week. And I think they're, taking the run away from, they got to know, you stop the run, Mac Jones is probably not going to kill us, especially with that wide receiving core they got. So that's got to be priority one. And I think I think that's at the forefront of what they're going to do. Take the run away, and then the secondary gets to play.
Sticking with the Patriots for a sec before we move, and their offense before we their defense before we move over. Richmond, their offense have gone to more of a zone blocking scheme from the whole power gap they've been known for. The Dolphins, people seem to forget last year we had 48 sacks, which was 5th best in the NFL. Their offensive line has been struggling in the preseason. do you see in terms of all these guys shifting from a power gap to a zone, do you see them having comfort issues in terms of changing the scheme that drastically? And do you see this as a potential opportunity where a guy like Jalen Phillips or a guy like Emmanuel Ogbah might be able to feast on a weakness?
Ain't no question. Like BallGame said, the energy is different with not only the defense but our offense. But coming into Miami, just about every defense you play against, the main thing they want to do is stop the run, stop the run, force you to be one dimensional. And with this being Mac Jones' second year, if we stop the run like we can with big guys in the middle and jam up and stop that zone scheme or whatever, Phillips and Agua are gonna eat, and it could be a real long day. With both of those guys meeting back there on Mac Jones, and I remember last year he kind of got frustrated at times when the offense wasn't working, couldn't get hit and this and that. And if they're having issues, it doesn't matter if it's power gap zone or whatever. If you can't block the scheme, you're gonna have issues, and that's not a good thing coming out of preseason, because normally you want to have some kind of consistency or feel good about it. But if they're still struggling about it, believe me, like we talked about on the show last night, Jason Phillips could have easily had 12 or 13 sacks on some he missed. So being at home, I just know the crowd is going to be deafening, this and that. And if he gets the jump off of the edge with that silent count, man, it could be ugly. And I'm not saying he's going to hurt anybody, but they could be looking at bringing in another quarterback if he gets beat up enough. I mean, it's just, it could be that type of game. And I can see us having 3 or 4 sacks. If we get rolling, it's going to be ugly. I mean, I think they're going to come to compete, but I can also see the game getting out of hand pretty easily too.
All right, so now let's switch gears and talk about our offensive line. And I'll just be blatant. How confident are you in our offensive line matched up against a Bill Belichick front that is always strong, and Judon's another year under his belt? How confident are you in our offensive line during week 1?
I still think we got some question marks, and the reason I say that is I feel a little bit more like Connor Williams and Teron Armstead. I think what they did is, that's why they kind of put Eichenberg over there between those guys, and they moved Jackson out to the right tackle. But in preseason, you don't play a lot. So, guys normally don't show everything in preseason, this and that. And like I said, I do believe Belichick, just the way he does things, he's going to dial up some things. And we're going to really find out. I think the biggest question mark is, I think everybody's concerned about, is the right tackle position, regardless of who's over there. That's Tua's blind side, and you got to protect his blind side. He can't be taking hits, consistently from that side. It's because you can't see it coming, and you just don't want your quarterback getting beat up. So this is going to be the true test. I mean, I know he looked good in preseason, this and that. Guys don't play a lot and this and that, but this is going to be the test. And with this being a divisional game, ain't no love lost between the Patriots and the Dolphins. It's been that way. You got to be ready to play. And I'm looking forward to Jackson showing that he's really made progress. But I think that's the question mark for me, him and Eichenberg. Yeah, they're starting this and that, but are you going to be able to anchor those bull rushes, stuff like that? Because that's what guys going to try. They're going to remember what you struggle with, and they're going to set you up and say, okay, can he handle a bull rush? Let's see if he's gotten any better with. And if you can't, you're going to continue to see it. So those are my question marks. But if we get that, if they play pretty solid, don't say they have to be the greatest, but they play pretty solid, everything works in our favor. So definitely looking for that. And those are my 2 question marks right there.
BallGame. Not only am I going to ask you how you feel about the offensive line against that front, a front that we got Dietrich Wise, Lawrence Guy, Christian Barmore, Matt Judon. Juwan Bentley has always been good against us. But how do you feel of our matchup against their secondary with Jonathan Jones, Kyle Duggar, who I think is going to become a really solid safety, Devin McCourty, Jalen Mills, Miles Bryant? How do you feel when you got guys like Cedric Wilson, Tyreek, Jalen, Gesicki as a big slot matched up against? So not only do I want to hear what you think about our offensive line against their front, especially with running the football, what do you think about how their secondary matches up against, because they're expecting Jonathan Jones to step in and be the guy that JC was. So what are your thoughts?
So when I look at the matchups, right now at this point, their D line, their front is better than our O line. We got a couple names, but those guys are solid across the board. So we have to do a really good job of ensuring that our guys don't have to take a long time to hold blocks and Tua can get the ball out quick, so that those guys don't have an opportunity to get into their full rush lanes and do the things that they do well. They're big up front, so power and strength and stuff. I don't necessarily know how much stronger Eichenberg got, and that was one of the issues with Jackson a year ago this time. But yeah, their D line is clearly better at this phase, in my opinion, than our O line. So that's a cause of concern for me. But we just got to be real crafty about how we shore up the protection and things of that nature. As far as the matchup between our wide receiving core, though, and their cornerbacks, we win that hands down, in my opinion. The fact of the matter is they have zero chance, in my opinion, of doing anything man-related with Tyreek and Waddle both on the field healthy at the same time. And then you add in a guy like Cedric Wilson, who can work the intermediate areas of the field along with Mike Gesicki. They just don't athletically have the linebackers to be able to cover the zone areas. They don't also have safeties big enough to really physically deal with Mike's size, and guys shifty enough to deal with how smooth Cedric moves between the zones. I don't see it, bro. They are really, really going to have their hands full, and they just not bringing enough to the fight for me. I think it's like them walking into the ring against their corners, going into the ring with our wide receivers is like them going in with one hand tied behind their back, in my opinion. You can't win like that. You can jab all you want, but you gonna get that left. That left is gonna catch you eventually.
Yeah. So needless to say, okay, so they were the second best pass defense last year. They only allowed about 187.1 yards per game. Needless to say, you don't see them coming anywhere close to that.
Not without J.C. Jackson on the field. Now we talk about how great Jones was as a counterpart to him, but Jones was arguably taking the second and third options on some teams while JC was locking up the number one. I mean, I still have not, and I'm not saying that he's a slouch, but I still haven't seen anything from Jones that makes me believe that he's even remotely close to being able to lock up a Waddle or a Tyreek Hill one-on-one. I just don't see it. And the other guys, Mills and those guys, nah, bro, they're not it, bro. Like, there's a stark drop-off between JC and Jones and then the rest of that roster. I like Duggar. I think Duggar is a dog.
He's a good beast, yeah.
Yeah, I think Duggar's a dog, but again, I don't like the matchup. I don't like his matchup. If he's got to cover Mike, that's a problem. Like, there's too much size there, and Mike's athleticism, you know what I'm saying, is going to greatly rule out and, neutralize most of the things that Duggar brings to the table in the passing game. So, it's not even worth even getting to it. Our wide receiver core is going to be winning a lot of matchups against a lot of cornerback tandems and secondaries, bro, just based on who they are and their abilities.
I think even this weekend, even a guy like Eric Ezekiel, if you throw him in the red zone, he's going to win his matchups in the red zones too, man. So, it's okay. So I'll save my score prediction for tomorrow night on Phinish Line The NFL when I do my preview. But who's your guys winning? I got the Dolphins winning this game. Who do you guys got winning the game? And if you want to throw a score, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I got the Dolphins winning 31-10. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the 10 points will be mercy points. I don't even see. I just really don't. I don't have any faith in Mac Jones. I don't have any faith in Devontae Parker. I don't care what Bill thought he saw in bringing him in, but the guy never really did anything
What about Lynn
with
Bowden,
50
bro?
50
Come
ball.
on.
They only brought him up there to suck up,
Yeah.
figure out what's going on in the playbook. So I don't even. Yeah, it's not going to be close, bro. And it might just. I'm saying 31. That's being nice. It might even be more. Like I just don't see how they can match up.
Wow.
Even if they do stop the run game, they don't have a chance against our pass, bro. Like
Yeah.
Tyreek, it's people just. I don't think people even realize just how special that dude is. And then you got the mini me version of him, still learning, but the young version of him, opposite him. Like
Yeah.
these guys are legitimately. I wouldn't want to have to try to defend them. And then you add Cedric in, and Easy E. It's just too much, bro. You got Mostert coming out the backfield catching pass. That's just way too much, man.
I'm telling you, if Mostert
This
stays
offense
healthy
is
this
OP,
year,
bro.
if Mostert stays healthy all year, he's gonna win that job by the end of the year for sure.
Yeah.
Richmond, what's your prediction? Who do you see winning this game?
Yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins as well. I'm going to say I'm thinking probably 27-17, and that could be a late touchdown or field goal by it could be 27-13 by the Patriots. If everything, like I said, if everything hits like it's supposed to be, I could easily see the Dolphins scoring over 30 points. And I just got a feeling that, and I don't normally go on feelings, but I just got a feeling that we could really blow this thing up. And that's what you're going to be hearing on ESPN, NFL Network, the Dolphins, this and that. The way we come out, I think it's going to put a lot of people on notice. And I just feel really good about this weekend. And I think our offense is going to really shock some people. And like BallGame said, trying to cover Tyreek Hill just alone. And then you got a guy like Waddle, and both of them have that big play ability. It just opens up, things for, like you said, Cedric Wilson, Gesicki, this and that. It could be a nightmare for a defensive coordinator. So, but I'm gonna go with 27-17, but Dolphins could possibly easily score with 30 points. I just feel good about this game.
Yeah, like I mean, I gotta say, and then we even saw in the predictions yesterday, all of us picked them to win. We're Dolphin Nation's pretty confident in this one. It's like, we got all these high expectations. I mean, about how the season finishes, but we also got expectations game by game, and we swept them last year. They didn't really improve that much. We did drastically, and I think everyone expects us to handle them pretty easily again, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm right there with you guys. Like I can see this game getting out of hand real quick.
Yeah.
By halftime, I could see this getting, and we'll all be basking in it. It's not like that's a bad thing, but yeah, I could see this. I could see this getting out of hand. Any final? Go ahead.
I want Mike to go out and put enough out there to make people aware that they have arrived. You feel me? Because then we go into Baltimore in week 2, and I want Harbaugh out there trying to figure out, damn, what do we stop? Who we try to stop? You feel me? If they go out there and everybody eats, that's nightmares for a defensive coordinator trying to figure out who do you try to take away. Like, make him think, man. Like, make him earn his paycheck. Because I'm quite sure Boyer's going to be cranking up, throwing the kitchen sink at Lamar, trying to make sure Lamar is stalled out. So have him frustrated to the point where he's also losing sleep trying to figure out who he's going to take away from us.
Well, like, Omar said after that third preseason finale game, he's on Twitter. Omar Kelly said, I was at all the Dolphin practices. I don't know why McDaniel's showing so much. Well, first of all, since that preseason game, they basically kept everyone at the dark who goes to practice is what's going on. Right. Second of all, does Omar Kelly really think Mike McDaniel didn't put that on tape for a purpose? like I totally think,
switch, bro.
Exactly. Like, you think this guy isn't sitting there saying they're going to rip my preseason tape apart, play by play, inch by inch on the field? He knows they're going to do that.
Yep.
And you're going to see stuff that we haven't seen yet. And see, that's another thing, guys. You know, I'm excited to see Tua. I'm excited to see Javon Holland. I'm excited to see Tyreek. I'm excited to see how this offense operates. I'm excited to see. I mean, we were seeing, even with the vanilla preseason playbook, play calls with purposes, us doing multiple things out of one formation to set defenses up with false keys to confuse them. Like, we were doing this in the preseason. What are we going to do when it matters? That's what I keep saying to myself. Like, you know, it's crazy because it was vanilla, but you come away impressed with the play design and you come away impressed with McDaniel as a play caller, but you still got to slow yourself up and be like, hey, it's just a vanilla offense in the preseason. But the back of your head, there's a little voice that says, man, imagine when it matters what he's going to be calling and what he's going to do. Like Safed Dean at that last week of practice, at that last practice open, everyone, Safed Dean said we ran a trick play during that practice that like blew everyone's mind. And, you know, no video of it ever came out. Nothing came out. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I think they're setting Belichick. They got Belichick worried. I'm convinced they got Belichick worried enough. That's why he came down early. Don't hit me with the weather thing. I don't believe that. I think he legitimately. Yeah, man.
He better be. He better be.
Because it's a version of the Shanahan offense we haven't seen yet. No one's seen it with this type of vertical. We've seen it with a vertical element. We've never seen it with this much speed to that vertical element before.
Well, you remember what Bill did to the league en route to that Super Bowl when they had Randy Moss and all that speed he had. I know this dude is sitting.
That was the first time Brady threw for over 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I know without a shadow of a doubt, Bill is thinking to himself, They got two that can get out on us.
And BallGame, from what I saw in the preseason when he was targeted, people need to wake up on Cedric.
Oh yeah,
Cedric looks like he's gonna eat when he's targeted.
Yep. That's what I'm saying, man. The middle of the field, the intermediate, that's gonna be, man. Cedric Wilson is about to do work, bro. Like legitimately. It's gonna be. I don't know. I mean, I sit here all the time thinking to myself, how do you stop it? Like, even the most simplest calls, you have to honor the fact that these two dudes have so much speed in Waddle and Hill. You can't play them conventionally. You have to be over the top creative in how you. Yeah, and you gotta hope that Tua will make mistakes, because if he gets it to them when they're in stride,
it's over.
That's all right.
It's the same thing. What are you going to do with a linebacker with Moser coming out of the backfield? How many guys can keep up with a guy who runs 22 miles per hour?
Not many.
Linebacker either.
One or two, and they're not on the Patriots.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's so many. We can kill you on every level with speed. So, I mean, that's the thing that I can't wait to see how McDaniel has designed this offense around the speed. I honestly think this is like what you guys were saying earlier about us maybe being able to put up 30 plus points, or, you know, us all talking about how it could get in a hand at half. This is why I said when we got McDaniel that I think out of the gate we can start hanging points on teams because they don't know what to expect from us. Yeah. Now, when the tape starts coming out, all he's got to do is adjustments and wrinkles, and all of a sudden now they got to deal with something else. So, you know, I think because there's so much we can do and they've never seen this guy at work before. Right. I think that's why Belichick's worried. But
you know what's most confusing though, bro? Like, real talk, is when an offensive coordinator has the patience to stay in a particular set, but run multiple looks off of that base set. That drives you nuts, because
and that's a specialty.
It all looks the same.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you thinking run, but it's pass. You're thinking pass, but it's run. And
everyone's got to have disciplined eyes on all three levels, man.
Yeah. Those are the worst type offenses to have to defend. a coordinator that's all over the place, doing a whole bunch of stuff here, but it's really the same stuff. He's just doing it out of different formations. That's not as difficult. But a guy that's disciplined enough to stay in one and play action pass you, bootleg out of it, do power run, do the stretch run, do the dive. You know what I mean? Do all these different things, a counter out of it. That's frustrating, the Lord, because it all looks the same. You don't know whether he's going right, whether he's going left, and even if they're unconventionally on the short side and they're bootlegging to the short side, throwing the ball back to the wide side of the field. Most people don't do that, but you got a left-handed quarterback. He can do it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's a nightmarish circumstance that you have to. Oh, I don't envy any of these defensive coordinators that have to try to defend this offense, bro. I don't.
That's why they get paid the big bucks, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. That's it.
Final thoughts before we get out of here, boys.
Mine is, man, I'm happy football is back. I'm excited about, all the acquisitions and the things that we did this offseason, and now we actually get a chance to see it in just a few days. So staying calm, but I'm definitely excited. Looking forward to Sunday kickoff against the Patriots. But always good to be on the show with you guys, and definitely excited about going live. I think this is going to be beneficial, and I appreciate all our listeners and stuff like that. But appreciate you guys, but yeah, I'm good. So
I gotta ask you, what's your game ritual, Richmond? What do you do? I know
now when I play.
No, now I know you might go do some gardening and stuff before you go out there.
Yeah,
no,
normally on Sundays I go to church, and then I get home about 11:30, and the game kicks off 12 around noon. So if I do it, it's gonna be after the Dolphins play. Maybe water everything, and then that's it. But, it's strictly football. Yeah, it's game time now. I can't be playing around this Sunday.
Well, hey, what do you do when you watch your Aggies, because you got more free time in front of that?
Yeah, it depends if it's an early game or whatever.
Everyone leave the room?
No, my wife will stand there and watch it. I don't like when I'm watching the game. I got one daughter, she'll watch the game with me, and then she'll try to do stuff to agitate me just to see how I'm gonna respond. And then I got another one that she'll watch, and then she want to ask a bunch of questions. I'm like, look, I don't mind answering the questions, but you got to get off your iPad. If you're gonna watch the game with me, we're gonna watch the game. But I can't teach it if you distracted doing something else. Yeah, put your helmet on and sit here with Daddy, and I'm gonna teach you. That's it.
BallGame, your final thoughts, brother.
Hey man, I'm just happy that we're here. It's been a long off season. A whole bunch of foolishness going on within the fan base, man. People out here trying to divide us. But one thing's for sure, man, winning cures all, and I'm willing to concede that I don't want to drag too many people, but if they're gonna still be out here on foolishness, they better be ready to get the clap back, because I'm fully loaded. I got a couple clips ready. My thing is, we are stronger together than we are divided. And all these BS narratives that people out here running about the kid, and things that he can't do. Why don't you have some faith, right? I know it's been a long time, and this organization has seen some over the top success, but I think we're right here at the cusp of some greatness happening and going to unfold right in front of us. And I would hate for people to not be able to be a part of the process and, talk themselves out of being able to fully enjoy it, because they're going to get dragged for the next 5 years by the idiotic statements they've been making. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
With
football
that, with that, football is here. All right, guys, we'll be back next Wednesday night. We'll start doing this on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. So check us out on YouTube Wednesday night, 8 p.m. As usual, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all podcast outlets. If you want to just listen to us on the audio. As far as Phinside the NFL, I will be back on Friday night to preview the Patriots and the Dolphins game. Until next time, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. And we'll see y'all next week right back here at the Finish Line.